Hello everyone and welcome back for some more delicious eye candy. So today we have a pretty good video. I really enjoyed doing the tier list videos, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make it all into one video, so it will be a little lengthy. So grab your popcorn and sit back and relax. And before we get started, I want everybody to understand that these are my opinions. Everybody's going to have a different opinion. And from all the weapons that I use, I'm very different. I don't like using meta weapons unless I'm just making a try-hard video or I just feel like sweating out. I like being tactical and seeing what I can do, seeing if I can come up with a plan and execute it and go from there. So with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like. If you're new or if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget that I have merch available now. I'll have the link for that in the description below, along with all my social media. Enough with all the jibber jabber. Let's get on to the action. Okay, this is tiermaker.com. I'll have the description below where you can make your own tier list. I can log in, but I'm not going to because they want access to my Twitter account. So for this video, just ignore the ads and we'll go down below. Okay, going down the list, we have meta, off meta, great, viable, usable, niche, and useless. Okay, first off, we have the ADR, and I'm going to put the ADR in the great category. It's a really solid weapon. It's insane up close. It's not nearly as good as it used to be, but it's still a great SMG overall. Okay, next we have the A74K, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this weapon. It's a good weapon. It's got higher fire rate. It's got great iron sights like the AKM. It doesn't have the best damage at medium to long range, and for that, I'm going to put it in the viable category. It's still a great weapon, don't get me wrong. It's just not my cup of tea. Okay, next we have the AKM, and the AKM is a solid choice all around, short, medium, long range. Has great iron sights. It's just a great gun all around. No matter if you're a veteran player or if you're a new player, it's a great choice gun. And I was going to put it in the off meta, but for now I'm going to put it in great just because I feel, in my personal opinion, that they are better weapons out there that will put the AKM to shame. Okay, moving on, we have the 1911 pistol. And this pistol is great when you go straight for headshots. It's a great loot run weapon. It's what I use whenever I'm trying to gather weapons. It's really good if you can move your character around fast and dodge bullets and whatnot. And it has pretty decent damage as well for a pistol, so there's no complaints there. So I'm going to put it in the usable category. Moving on, we have the John. And along with all the knives, they're just useless. If they had some kind of animation where you can come up behind somebody and one-shot kill them, that would be awesome. But for now, the knives just are useless. They're no good in this game whatsoever. Next up, we have the AUR Para. And this gun is fun to use. It really is. And it can be decent, but there are better guns. I enjoy the gun just for the looks and the sound of it. I actually enjoy the sound. A lot of people don't use this gun just because it has low damage. So for that, I'm going to put it in the valuable category. Okay, so now I'm going to get a lot of flack off this, but the AUR A1 is going in the off meta category. Not just because it's my favorite, but I believe it is off meta. It is basically a mobile H-bar. Sure, it doesn't have the big nice scope up top, but it's very accurate. It's got a great fire rate. And it's just an awesome weapon all around. And plus it's my favorite, and this is my tier list. So I can put it in off meta. Up next is the crossbow. And I believe this is a niche weapon. People only use it for a good challenge. It can be good for headshots as it's completely silent, but I never personally enjoy this weapon and I've never really used it. Maybe it's better than a lot of people think. I just don't ever use it. So for that, it's going into the niche category. Next up, we have the Bugle F1. And this is what I wish the ES16 would have been. It has no bloom. It's a headshot machine. It has an insane fire rate. And it's just a great off-meta weapon all around. Everybody loves the Bugle F1, and so do I, and that's why it is going in the off-meta category. Up next, we have the G3, and I'm not sure if I want to put it in off-meta or great, because due to Season 7, it had a silent recoil reduction, and what that means is the devs either intentionally or it is a bug where it got a recoil nerf. So it's now easier to control than ever before. Everybody always complained about the G3's recoil. So like the A1 being a mobile H-bar, the G3 is a mobile SG1. It's got great damage, great accuracy, and I'm doing a video of it. It should come out this weekend, I'm pretty sure. But the only thing that kills it is the iron sights. So for that, it's going in the great category. Okay, so the SG1, of course it's going in meta. I hate going up against this weapon. I hate fighting this weapon. I even hate using this weapon just mainly because it's the easy button. So we all know where it's going. So following that, we have the grease gun. And the grease gun is actually a really good weapon. It's accurate and it's a headshot machine if you know how to use this weapon. I've done a video on it in the past if you want to go check it out. But never doubt the grease gun. It's a really good weapon. It doesn't have the best damage, but like I said, it's a headshot machine. It's really accurate. And it's a good weapon, and I would much rather use it over any of the beginning weapons that you start out with. Next up, we have the H-bar. And if I had to pick a favorite meta weapon, the H-bar would definitely be it. I'm not going to talk much about this weapon because we all know exactly where it's going, straight up into the meta section. Up next, we have the IZH. And before the La Chevet, it would be in the great section, but because the La Chevet offers so much more, I'm going to have to put it down into the section below it. And the reason for that is, it's not because I hate the IZH now, it's just there's better options out there now, and I feel like the La Chevet is so much better in every way. Up next, we have the KK62, and this is a great LMG. I know a lot of people doesn't like LMGs, but this one is highly accurate and it shoots really fast. So you can't go wrong when you pick up this weapon. There's not really much to say about it. It's just a great LMG. It's got a great fire rate and it's really accurate at both short and medium ranges. That's why it's going into the great category. Next, we have the Luger, and the Luger is a niche weapon. It can be used to open up locked container, and you can defend yourself with it, but, I mean, that's pretty much it. It doesn't have the best fire rate, it doesn't have the best damage. It's a gun. We'll just put it like that. So we'll put it in the niche category. Next up, we have the ES16A2, and this used to be my favorite weapon, and I would have put it in off-meta before the Bugle, just because how cheap it is to make, how accurate it was, how good of damage it was, and how dependent it was. But, you know, since they have a bloom bug with it now, it's useless to me, but it still can be a usable gun because I've used it the other day, and it's somewhat still alright, but it's not near as good as my new favorite, the A1. So for that, it is going to the great category. After that, we have the M2. And the M2 is nice. It doesn't have the best damage, but on single fire, it can be a very accurate and deadly weapon. I've used this gun personally, and I've seen a lot of other people use this weapon. It's a great starter weapon. It's kind of like a poor man's SG1, just without the scope and the fancy damage. So overall, it's a viable weapon in my choice. The M21. I actually like this gun. I wish I knew the bloom and the bullet trajectory a little better. It reminds me of the DMR in Warzone, if any of y'all have played Warzone. The scope is nice. Everything is nice about this gun. I just wish I mastered it more. The damage is great, although once somebody gets up really close, you're kind of screwed. And for that, I'm going to put it into the great category just because it does have a nice scope and it does a lot of damage. Up next, we have the M249. And in my honest opinion, I think this is by far the best LMG in the game. And that's exactly why it's going to off-meta. Because it's the only LMG in the game that you can ADS while standing up or crouched. And we all know how I feel about my LMGs. So it is going into the off-meta category. Up next, we have the Combat Magnum. And I do have the blueprint for this weapon. And I've only managed to get 3 kills out of this weapon, 2 of them being long range and 1 being up close. It has the stagger effect, but even then, I don't know. This weapon is kind of weird to use, but it is viable to use. so I'm not going to put it down below. I will put it in the viable category. After that, we have the Machine Guevara. And I was going to put this in the off-meta category because if you watch Dottie JX use this weapon, he is nuts with it. And it's cheap to make, it's got a great fire rate, and it's awesome all around. But for me, in my opinion, I think it's great. It definitely is a good weapon, but it's not off-meta, in my opinion. So for that, it's going into the great category. The MGV. I really want to like this gun. It's got a insanely high fire rate, but that's all it has. It doesn't have great damage. It doesn't have great range unless you're right in their face. And even then, it takes, half the clip of the 200 rounds it does hold just to kill somebody. So for that, it's got to go down below. And if anybody feels any different, please send me a clip because I just can't get a hold of liking this weapon. The Mosin is next, and I would put it in off meta if it had a scope, but because it doesn't have a scope, then I'm going to put it down below in the great category. It's an awesome gun, don't get me wrong. It's a one shot up to 30 meters, and you can get really lucky headshots with this weapon, and it's just one of my favorite weapons. Yes, it's challenging to use, but once you learn how to use it, and once you watch and study Drake Yorn's videos, you'll love this weapon just as much as I do. After that, we have the MP5. Now, I don't see a lot of people using the MP5, and I don't see why they don't use the MP5. It's got a silencer, it's got a fast fire rate, it's really accurate, and it's just a great weapon all around. I love this weapon. You can be really sneaky and get a lot of kills and not give away your position with this weapon. So for that, it's going to the great category. After that, we have the PAMD86. There's not much to say about this, but it's a burst weaker AKM, and if you like burst weapons, then you'll like this weapon. But for me personally, it's a viable gun. It can be usable, but it's not my favorite by any means whatsoever. This gun is useless. It just sucks. I don't even get kills with it. No matter how many more silver pigeons I carry, it sucks. So it's going down into the useless category, and that's the last I want to hear about. Next up is the PKM. And the PKM is like an off-brand M249 without all the good stats, and you can't ADS while you're crouched or standing up. I wish it was better. I was so excited when I got the blueprint because I mained the PKM in Warzone, but it's nothing like the gun in Warzone, and it's nothing like I wanted it to be. So when I got the blueprint for this gun, I got really excited, but I was really sad about how bad it is. If the recoil was just a little better, it would probably be a lot better. But even prone, the recoil is just terrible. So that's why it's going down here into this category. Okay, so the PM rack. It used to be my go-to sidearm, but now that the replica is in the game, the PM rack is just pretty much obsolete. And that's sad to say. It's still usable, but it's not as good as it once was, in my opinion. So for that, we're going to put it down here in this category. The PM is a gun. It can be used to shoot locks off. Good luck killing anybody with it because this gun just straight up sucks. But, it will be a niche weapon if you need something just to shoot the locks off without wasting your ammo. The PPSH, the PP as Half Metal Fox calls it, it's a good weapon up close. It's, really good. It's viable, that's for sure. I prefer the Suomi over this weapon, but this weapon is still very viable. And if you enjoy this weapon and you master it, it can be a really good weapon because it's got a high fire rate. Okay, so I've been editing for 8 hours now, and I promise you the PPS or PSS is just like every other weak pistol in the game. It's a niche, except this one has a silencer. Up next, we have the RPK, and the RPK is actually a pretty good LMG. It's got a lot of rounds. I think it holds 70 rounds. It's got pretty decent damage as well. You can shoot forever, or you can have a teammate use it and suppress your enemy while you flank them around. So that's why I'm going to put it in this category right here. Another gun that I'm going to get flack for is the Scorpion. I've gotten threat games with just the Scorpion. People don't understand how good this gun is. It doesn't have the biggest magazine. It doesn't have the best damage. But what it does have is accuracy. You can pinpoint shoot somebody at medium range and just get a lucky headshot 9 times out of 10 with this weapon right here. And like I said, I've gotten threat games with just this Scorpion. Although I forgot to record it because it was on Twitch stream and I forgot to check to have all the stuff be safe. And we're just going to stick the SKS right here. It's not a good bad weapon, it's medium, and we'll just stick it right there. The S82, it looks cool, it's got a nice scope, but it sucks. No matter how much I've tried to get a kill with this weapon, I can't do it. Even at long range, it sucks. It takes more than one shot. So there, it's going into the useless category. As sad as I see it, it looks cool. It's a great thought, but that's it. The Suomi is up next, and to be honest, I see a lot of sweats and a lot of tryhards use this weapon, mainly because it has a lot of damage, a lot of fire rate, and a lot of ammo. And you combine that with a good player, and this weapon definitely should be meta. But it's off meta because it's not as good as the H-bar or the SG-1, but it's very, very close. And that's why I am putting the Suomi in off meta. Okay, with the SVD and the SVU, I'm just going to wrap them all up in one. I much prefer the SVD just because it's much more reliable. The SVU, the only thing it really has going for it is the suppressor, but its recoil is much worse. The SVD bounces back a whole lot better, and I just prefer the SVD over the SVU, in my personal opinion. Okay, so in my opinion, the Thompson is a niche weapon, mainly because players only use it because they're new or they're just going for a challenge. Other than that, there's so many better guns in this game, and that's why it is going in the niche category. Next, we have the UKVZ, and it's basically a replica of the KK62. It's just not as accurate, but it shoots as fast, and it's a LMG. It's a really good LMG, but I don't have a whole lot of description because I've only used it a handful of times. I've used the KK62 more. Next up, we have the VSS. And if it had range, this VSS would be a really good sniper rifle, but it doesn't. And it's full auto, so you can kill people up close, but it's not a dedicated sniper rifle at range. Maybe at medium range, it does have a suppressor, so it can be a sneaky little sniper rifle to get those cheeky headshots. But other than that, it's a viable weapon. It's not the best, and it's not, there are better options out there. Like this weapon right here. It doesn't have a scope and it doesn't have a suppressor, but it also doesn't have any recoil whatsoever. You can pick people off from range, and it has a fast enough fire rate that you can defend yourself up close. And that is the VZ58 rifle. I'm sorry, I mean the VZ52 rifle. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move the AKM up to off meta, and then move the VZ58 assault rifle into great, just because the more and more I use this weapon, the more and more it reminds me of the AS Val. It shoots crazily fast, insane up close, and the more and more I use it, the more and more I love this weapon. And finally, we have the RPK-74, and I used to defend this weapon, but I don't. Since I started using the RPK, I find the RPK is just better in every way, and I don't like the RPK-74 as much anymore. I want to thank everybody for taking their time out of their day and enjoying my video. It took me a little over 8 hours to totally edit this video. That's why I'm starting to see that's why a lot of people don't do these types of videos. But I do it because, I want to get this out there, and I really enjoy editing, even though I had to take small breaks from this video. So if you can, please support me by liking, commenting, and sharing the video. And as always, much love. Now let's roll the outro. Oh, before I forget, I know the latest guns wasn't in this tier. That's because the website, they don't update regularly. But if they do, the Rafka will be in the meta, of course. The M60 would probably be inviolable, and the La Chevet would be in great. And that's just my opinion, because the La Chevet is actually a really great shotgun if you can use it and you don't get lag switched. The Rafka, of course, is meta. Okay, now enough with all my jibber jabber. Let's roll the outro. With